Hey, John Macri leaves me with the doozies, doesn't he? Holy cow. Knicks beat the Pistons, the chugging Pistons, 118-112 in a highly competitive, too close for comfort basketball game. The Pistons have now lost 16 games in a row. We were in danger there for a minute, and I know we were all sweating it. We were in danger there for a minute of being on the wrong end of history. So, a lot to process. I don't know about you guys, but there's so much frustration built up in my system from that game. And I'm going to use this opportunity, spending time with you all, to decompress. Because at the end of the day, it's a win. And wins are precious. And wins are hard to come by in this league. And you got to bank them. You have to bank them. They're tough games coming up. So no matter how difficult, frustrating, exasperating, to have it in the win column is the most important thing. And we did that. So we could take solace in that fact. It was a victory. So I'm going to try my best to be positive, bring some positive energy. I hope you guys do the same. It could be a reciprocal positive energy party in here. There's a lot to talk about, and I'll do a pretty brief intro. From the first play of the game, we kind of saw what this was going to be. Julius Randle, God bless him, is in front of Cade Cunningham. Like, this was not a breakaway. Like, Julius was there and made a business decision on a guy who doesn't dunk to concede a layup on a fast break to open the ball game. That's what you call tone setting in the wrong direction. What you want to do against a team that is as miserable and as lacking in confidence as that Pistons team is you want to come out and stomp them from the tip. I guarantee you that was the message in the locker room. On any level of basketball, if you've played on any level, when you play a team that is struggling, that doesn't even want to be there sometimes. I mean, you see the reporting around this team right now and the state of the fandom. It's a disaster in Detroit. Disaster. They're trying to win games this year. They've lost 15 in a row. What you have to do is step on them. And from the first play of the game, you decided to concede an open layup instead of contesting it. And I'm telling you, it wasn't that hard to contest for Julius. He was there. Statement made. Tone set. There it is. And all the Knicks had to do in that first quarter, because I am telling you, I don't think, you and I both, all of us here, have seen a lot of bad basketball in our lives, more than we deserve. We have seen quarters of hell, abysmal play over the course of, for me, about 20 years of fandom, 25 years, for some of you more. We've seen some really awful basketball played. That first quarter from the Pistons ranks up there with some of the worst basketball I have ever watched. They were literally handing the Knicks the basketball. There was no pressure. These were not forced turnovers. There were a couple of plays where they literally just dropped the ball. All the Knicks had to do was play 6 minutes of serious basketball at any point in that quarter, and they're up 20. They're up 20. And they couldn't be bothered. And it started on that first play. And from there, they were just stints of unserious basketball. Jalen Brunson, God bless him. We'll talk about the positives. because holy cow. Talk about this guy might be one of the best shooters in the league right now. Top 5 in the league. A guy who didn't shoot pull-up threes 2 years ago. However, Sasser comes in the game. He's a shooter. He came out of college as a shooter. And Brunson couldn't be bothered to close out on him. Got him hot. All of a sudden, he's got confidence. Like, that's the last thing you want to give this team. Couldn't be bothered to close out. And that's not just Brunson. Josh Hart in the first quarter, couldn't be bothered. Emmanuel Quickley's defense, RJ Barrett's defense was a train wreck all game. Couldn't be bothered to play 6 minutes of serious basketball and send that team home. That's a shame. It's a shame because we have a tough game tomorrow night. Detroit was coming off a back-to-back. We're on a back-to-back. We're headed now to we're going to play Toronto tomorrow night, who, by the way, has found something. They're playing pretty good basketball, and they're a tough matchup for a lot of reasons we can get into over the course of tonight. I'm really interested to see how the Knicks play, but hell, it's going to be a tough game. And, I mean, you look at the minutes totals now. Brunson played 40 minutes tonight. Julius played 38. Luckily, Barrett only played 24 because he wasn't very good. Grimes only played 16. Your bench guys, whatever, they got up to 20. That's fine. But like your two main guys played a gazillion minutes in a game that they should not have. Not the end of the world. Now I'm going to try to spin it because he got the job done. And how did you get the job done? It felt like the adults came in the room. Like, I love RJ. I love IQ. I love Quentin Grimes. They didn't play serious basketball tonight. They just didn't. On either end. Grimes had some decent possessions on Cade, but did Cade really feel him? I mean, Cade had a night. Cade was great. That's Grimes' assignment. He had a couple of really good possessions. He's just not. He's not playing at the same level right now. The Knicks are got to work through it because Quentin Grimes is becoming a problem. Another scoreless night tonight. Can't have that. IQ had maybe his worst game of the season or one of two. He had one other clunker over the course of the year. Just couldn't get anything on the offensive end. Just wasn't making himself felt on the defensive end. I thought RJ was a mess defensively, as I mentioned. Those guys just weren't serious tonight. The adults came in the room at the end of the game. You got the Villanova boys in. And Randall, who, as I've already said my piece on the critical side, and he deserves it. And we know he deserves it. This is not new. That said, close the game. Brunson was exhausted, I think, by the end. Randall, no one on that team could guard him, and he knew it. And he did what he wanted at the end of the game to close it and send them away. And that, in the end of the day, that's what they had to do. They won the game. I'm talking it out with you guys. I'm frustrated by that whole performance, and yet we know eventually Detroit's going to beat a team. And it wasn't us. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing. And upsets happened across the league tonight. Across the league, there were some crazy results tonight. It was in the water. I mean, what do we have? Oh, yeah, the Hornets beat the Nets tonight. The Blazers beat the Cavs tonight. So it can happen. And the Knicks in general have taken care of business, not only beating the bad teams, but really taking care of business, like destroying them. Tonight was their first real nail biter against a bad team, but this was a different level. And the only reason I'm really frustrated, because generally I am someone who would get on here after beating a bad team and say, hey, NBA players, sometimes they play well. Sometimes they play well and you just got to win the game. I generally come on here and say that after a game like that. But this Pistons team in that first quarter that I watched, they stink. And they stunk tonight until the Knicks allowed them to gain the confidence they needed to smell a win after almost a month of not winning. Yeah, they're gonna go all out. And it got scary for a minute there, but job done. Job done. All right. That's all I got as an intro. I want to talk it out with you guys. I got Andrew Claudio, the great Andrew Claudio, on the 1s and 2s. Feeling better?
Feeling a lot better, Benji. And I'm specifically talking about that basketball game. Everything else I've got going on in my internal system, it's a work in progress. But I think you nailed it. Like it wasn't pretty, but mission accomplished at the end of the day.
Yeah. Mac relieves me with these amazing games to go out. It's something.
But
this
hey,
is special.
You got a W this time, Benji. The curse is broken, sir.
I'm sitting there and I'm like, please don't make me go on after we lose this game. Please don't do this to me.
So you saw the analogy.
Thank you to
you
Jalen
saw the
Brunson.
analogy I put in our KFS group chat, right? That because you play slow pitch softball.
Yeah.
Like, so for those who don't know, when you play in like those adult leagues throughout the week, like if you play, it's 10 per team, right? 4 outfielders. If you play a team that only has 8 players, they are allowed to play you, but they get 2 automatic outs in their lineup. So this felt like playing a team with 2 automatic outs in their lineup, but you still had to beat them. You still had to show up and hit and not take them lightly. And it felt like the Knicks knew in the first half, like, hey, we got 2 outs to play with. Like, we don't have to take this seriously. And then suddenly they were trailing in the last couple innings, and they're like, all right, let's, like you say, the adults came in the room. Have you seen the movie The Town?
Yes.
Okay, this was the not fucking around crew, is what I would call it. So that's the direction I thought you
went. It was. But that said, and like, it's not like those guys all stunk in the first half other than Brunson. DiVincenzo was bad, had no impact in the first half. Hart was bad, had no impact in the first half. Didn't make them feel like, but yeah, you brought him in at the end. They knew it had to be done. They got the job done.
And
but it was.
I know you pay attention to the lineup data, and like Fred talks about how Tibbs pays attention to it. That Nova lineup with Randall and Mitch is what succeeded in those 2 games that Grimes missed. And I wonder if that's going to become a bit of a death lineup for the Knicks, that when Quickly doesn't have it, at least.
Right. The concern is that it could be a crutch lineup for Tibbs, right?
True.
Because of this, because of what you just saw, because they know what needs to be done. And Tibbs loves those guys. And I think Quickly sometimes can get a bit loose. And RJ sometimes isn't locked in. And those guys will be locked in for the most part. But you don't want to happen is he gets too reliant. Now IQ's playing even less than he's already playing, right? But yeah, they showed you it's a well-trained group. Like that Nova group just knows what has to get done when it's got to get done. Like DiVincenzo's defense on Cade there to close the game, he was all over him the last 6 minutes. Now, I don't know why it took so long for the Knicks to figure out that, like, you got to get physical with him. You got to force him to give up the ball. Got to deny him the ball. Like, they don't have much else there going for him, but it did. And DiVincenzo came in and said, enough is enough, and pressured the ball, was all over him, forced to travel, forced an offensive foul. Like, that's what those guys do. And it was good to see that. And that Nova lineup can be effective, and I think will be a weapon for the team going forward.
Yeah, he's been going to in the late second, like once he subs RJ out finally,
right?
He goes with the Nova lineup when he brings Mitch back in. So, look, I'm curious to see how often he uses it. I hope it's only on nights where Emmanuel Quickly is this, because Quickly, I think, can earn his playing time. And tonight, I agreed with the decision to go with that. But I think I speak on behalf of both of us. We all need to take a big inhale, exhale, take a deep breath. And let's cleanse our palate. We're
gonna have fun. We're gonna have
healthy and have a healthy dose of AG1. Gentlemen. I was setting it up. I know.
I'm having a conversation with you while I'm setting
up it in. No, I wanted to have the conversation. It was good. So shout out to the fine folks at AG1, our sponsor for today's episode. AG1 is our good friends. They sent me and John a nice container. We were trying to work on something for Benji, but some dietary restrictions exist.
No, we don't know.
Or at least we don't know that. Listen, we will work on that, is what we're doing with AG1. However, what I will say is that AG1, like John's mentioned how his wife is using it, and like my wife, she has her own, we call it sawdust, like the little like powdery drinks that we drink in the morning. We each take it in the morning. It helps us feel lighter throughout the day, the boost of energy throughout the day. It's an extra kick before you get your coffee, so maybe the coffee's not even as necessary or even lasts longer. If you want to mix it, you can. I've got Red Bull in mine right here, and we're going to get to the drinking game in just a second. but AG1 is the supplement I trust to provide my body with what it needs daily. And I need, if you want to take ownership of your health, it starts with AG1. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase. Go to drinkag1.com/film school. That's drinkag1.com/film school to check it out. So what are we going to have to make the drinking game tonight, Benji? Anytime someone mentions Grimes, because I think that's going to come up a lot tonight.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh man, I don't know if I can handle that. Sure. I got my Hooper mug here.
Oh, there you go. We'll both drink to that. There you go.
So we could drink together, although it's just hot water in here, but
listen, cheers. Whatever we're using. Okay, so anytime someone mentions Grimes, we'll talk about it. Do you want to get I mean, you mentioned he's becoming a problem. Do you want to, before we get to the Super Chats, mention what kind of problem you think it is?
I think he is in his own head at this point. Last year he managed, despite being in the same role, he managed to find a consistent output of performance, of shooting, of beating closeouts and making plays. And all of a sudden, and it's hard to pinpoint exactly why, other than maybe he wants more. Maybe he's just frustrated with the role at this point and he's having a harder time accepting it. I don't know. It's, I'm not inside his head. I don't know the reason, but he's just playing very unsure. I mean, some of the decisions he's making, he tried to do the Space Jam dunk.
I saw that. Yeah.
But he can't stretch out his arm. What was there were 4 guys there. What was he trying to, in the last game, it was a layup. He drove twice. He got blocked on one, and he threw a lob to Mitch that Mitch didn't even jump for, almost went out of bounds. Every drive right now is like an adventure. He just has no idea where it's going to go. Like, he's just not letting the game come to him. And I think the reason he's not is because it's hard to let the game come to you when it almost never comes to you.
I mean, this is what we talked about all offseason. Like, are they going to be able to get him more involved? And now that
the answer is no.
Well, the rise of IQ, DiVincenzo fitting in perfectly when he takes his spot. Now it's you wonder. So
now you have two games where DiVincenzo with that starting unit, although this time it was Hart instead of RJ, just looked better, fit the role better, gets himself more involved, goes and makes he makes the game feel him, as Tibbs likes to say. Like, he just makes an impact no matter what. And Grimes has not done that this year. And I said from the beginning, it's going to be performance-based. There are a lot of guys vying for the same positional minutes, and Tibbs it's going to be performance-based. So whoever, I said from the beginning of the year, you better perform early, because you're going to see your minutes go down if you don't perform. And that doesn't help Grimes either. There's a lot of pressure, and he has not lived up to the expectations this year. I don't know how else to say it. He hasn't. I don't think from an organizational standpoint you give up on it yet. I don't even think you take him out of the starting lineup yet, because at this point they're still winning games. The team is in a good spot. The starting lineup, I don't know. We'll see what the net rating is after tonight, but is still performing positively. The bench unit is still a force, and you mess that up, you mess up that chemistry. Who knows if you start to jigger the rotations around? I don't think you make that move yet, but we're certainly getting to a conversation here. You can't go scoreless, man. You can't have multiple games going scoreless. He hasn't taken a free throw in how long? Like, there's crazy stuff going on. So at some point, you have to sit down and have a real conversation about it. I'm not quite there yet, although I know we will talk about it with many of our fine watchers of KFS tonight. I'm looking forward.
Absolutely. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it. Who's first? Bring it on. Let's have a good time. Busy. What's up, Busy? Why does RJ hold his follow through on missed threes? Even after he sees the misses, he just leaves it up there. Yeah, I noticed that tonight too, Busy. Like, dude, you're embarrassing us. Put your hand down. All right. No. He does do that. Confirmed. Agreed. He does leave it up even after he misses. I think I vaguely recall either in Tibbs' first year or second year him discussing him holding his follow through as something that they were focusing on or something that he thought was indicative of when RJ is, quote, grooving his shot. So I think there's like actual intention behind it, but sometimes he overdoes it, and it does not help the transition defense when he is staring at his woefully short 3-point shot as it clangs off the rim. Thanks, Busy. Robert Cross, the great, the one and only. Robert, let me know what your middle name is. What does the W stand for? Do we know that? If we don't know that, and Andrew can't tell me, I want Robert to let me know. Hi, Big Thread Benjamin. Scintillating effort tonight. Are you worried about Grimes? Oh, I'm glad you asked, Robert. We just discussed it at some length. Yes, I'm worried. I am confident that he will find a place on this team. I think he's a good basketball player. I think he has a lot to offer this team. I still believe in the jump shot. I still believe in the jump shot wholeheartedly. I know he hasn't made a bunch. He's just got to find his role and groove and let the game come to him and not overthink it. And defensively, he has seemed smaller this year. I don't know. The bigger guys have just kind of had their way with him at times. I always thought he was better against small, quick guards. I find he guards Trae Young, for example, as well as anybody in the league. But you can overpower him a bit, and even Cade did at times tonight. Cade's got some good size on him. So he's got to make people feel him more defensively on a more consistent basis, and then he's just got to find a way to get back to himself offensively. I'm not, at this point, we're not asking for him for any kind of leap. I think at this point, we're just hoping he gets back to where he was last season, right? I mean, that's all you can really hope for right now is just get back to the player you were, who was a really solid contributor to a really good team. Thank you, Robert.
By the way, Robert's middle name is William for his grandfather. He wanted to let you know that. Big Thread.
Robert William Cross. Love that. It's a beautiful name. All right. Fargo Tufo. What's up, Fargo? They say winning is more fun than fun, but this was not fun. Shout out Chris A. Andrew? Yeah.
Alex, clarify in the chat. I'm not sure who Chris A is.
No, this was not fun.
No.
Here's what was fun about it. Here's the one thing that was really fun was watching Jalen Brunson shoot the basketball. Can we talk about this now? I want to talk about this now. I'm not sure that I have tweeted about it many times. I know DJ has tweeted about it many times. I want to kind of state it for the record here. I'm struggling for words. It is hard to believe. It is unbelievable shooting progression from Jalen Brunson over the course of 2 years. Because I'm telling you guys, he barely shot pull-up threes in Dallas. Barely shot off the dribble threes. Wasn't part of his game. And we are now watching a player who is indisputably, look at the stats, watch the games. This is one of the best pull-up three-point shooters in basketball. It is borderline automatic. He is ridiculous from distance. They run the high horn set. He's pulling from 3 feet beyond the line. He's one of the best shooters in the league. Like, wrap that around your minds. He is one of the best shooters in basketball. Add that to all the crazy skill he has inside the arc. Mid-range game, footwork, foul drawing, touch, pump fake, the whole package that we already knew he had. And now add to that he is one of the best shooters in basketball. Full stop. That is fun to watch. And mind-boggling. Like, how did this happen? I implore you to read Fred Katz's article about it, about what the work regimen is that allows him to develop at this rapid a pace. But it is absurd. Like, I'm watching it with my jaw hanging open. What is like? He is automatic. It's like freaking watching who? I don't. It's not. No one's Steph, obviously. Luka's shot the hell out of it on pull-ups this year, but like Luka's probably going to come back to earth a little bit based on historical precedent. Could he be the second best pull-up shooter in the league this year? Like, not crazy. Yeah, sure. I mean, I don't count anything out anymore with this guy. What a ridiculous basketball player. That's fun to watch. That was about it, though. And literally laughing and cackling at some of the first quarter turnovers by the Pistons because it was Washington Generals BS. Like, what the hell? There was one play where All-Star Thompson just dropped the ball and just didn't pick it up. There was another play where I don't even know who it was, tried to throw a full-length pass under the rim, and it almost went in. It's like planked off the rim. There were like at least 3 plays where a guy threw it to the wing, and the guy on the wing was cutting. It just went straight out of bounds. At least 3. They had like 15 turnovers in like the first quarter and a half. And second half was much better. They played well in the second half. They did. They played well in the second half because that's what happens when you give a team like that hope and confidence. But the first quarter was comically bad. That was kind of fun in a sadistic way. Thanks, Fargo. Who do we got next there, Andrew?
Chris A is someone in the KFS Substack chat.
Oh,
that
okay.
So if you know, is more what Alex means.
I don't know. Okay,
There
cool. Juanon. The most fascinating name in the KFS world. What does it mean? I don't know. Thank you for the contribution, buddy. It was ugly but fine by me. Win is a win. Good. I like it. Here's a fun idea for tomorrow's game. If the Raptors win, we drop the lawsuit, and if the Knicks win, they have to trade us OG for Fournier and Protecteds. That would add stakes. Who needs an in-season tournament when you can bet on lawsuits and trades? To your first point, yeah, I'm trying to get there. I am working it out as we speak. I am trying to get to a place where I can say a win is a win. I've stated it. I don't really believe it yet, but I agree with you in theory that a win is a win. It's the most important thing of the night is that they banked the win. That is true. I don't mean to. If I haven't been clear about that, then that's on me, and that's my frustration. The most important thing that happened tonight was the Knicks won a basketball game. After that, boy, do I wish Jalen Brunson didn't have to play 40 minutes. And boy, do I wish that Julius Randle came out with any degree of competitiveness. And boy, do I wish that IQ, Quentin Grimes, RJ Barrett just played more serious basketball tonight. So it's both. But yes, the most important thing is that they won the basketball game. True statement. Thanks, Juanon. Will Oliver. Grimes, yeah, I noticed this one too, buddy. Grimes did not look pleased when DDV hit a big 3. Okay, so let's give him the benefit of the doubt because I'd noticed that shot too. He was in the background. Oh, you're right. The drink from the Hooper mug. Thanks, AG1. Benefit of the doubt. He was sitting there after the 3. I think he put 3 fingers up kind of in a not particularly enthusiastic way. Look, he's a human being. He's a young player. Hasn't made his money in the league yet. He's struggling mightily. Ideally, do you put that all aside and celebrate with your teammates when they succeed? Yes. He's a human being. He's struggling. Like, we have no reason to believe that he's been anything other than a really good teammate since he came into the league. Waited his turn, had a lot of success last year, has a tough role on this team. The guy who theoretically could replace him was having a great fourth quarter. Is it possible that he was feeling that? Yes. Did it look like he was feeling that? Yes. Do I know that he was feeling that? No. And even if he was feeling that, I would just say he's a human being. And we should have some sympathy for a guy who's trying to figure it out. He's going through it. He's just going through it. And I think incumbent on his teammates, certainly his coaching staff, and hell the fans to kind of stay with him here, because he's shown he's a good basketball player and he's important to the organization, both as a player with this current iteration of the team and as a piece moving forward, whether it's with this team or without them, right? Like, his success is important to the team, no matter what, whether he's on this team long term or not. So they got to stay with him. We got to stay with him. See if he can turn it around. Thanks, Will Oliver. Robert William Cross is back. Hello again, BTB. Number 11 was stellar tonight. How do you feel about more time with IQ and with him and IQ on the floor together? I feel great about him and IQ on the floor together. Again, a shout out to Fred Katz, who wrote a great article about how successful that pairing has been since Brunson was on this team for the year plus now. I think they work great together. I like the pairing. IQ stunk tonight. Didn't deserve to play any more than he did. So, not tonight, but yes, in general, absolutely, because I believe IQ is maybe the best bench player in the league, and I have full faith in him bouncing back. And I think they should play together a lot, and they do. And IQ has closed plenty of games already this year, and he'll continue to do so, regardless of the performance tonight. Thanks, Robert. Bernard Richardson. Thank God JB plays basketball for this team. Amen, Bernard Richardson. He's absurd. He never ceases to amaze me. It's like, it's again, despite the offensive brilliance tonight, I gave him an A on my grades, not an A+, because I thought his second quarter defense was pathetic. Even though he drew a charge at some point. Come on. Get Sasser off the line. Enough. He never said enough. And so it wasn't like my favorite JB game ever, but on the offensive end, it's like, it's just automatic right now. Let me read out the numbers for a second, because they deserve to be read out. 42, 6, and 8 assists. 13 of 24 from the field, 7 of 12 from 3, 9 of 10 from the line, 1 turnover. I mean, that's the best non-A+ ever, probably. The fact that he never turns the ball over is also remarkable. And by the way, one thing I loved about this game from him is, to close it out, what did he do? He deferred, because Julius had the matchup and had the vibes going. JB was actually was hanging on 39 points for a while, and they were switching the Brunson Julius pick and roll. So both had a mismatch. It was JB with Isaiah Stewart, someone he could go at any time, and then it was whoever, maybe Killian Hayes was on Julius. And instead of just going at Stewart, threw the ball into the post to Julius, who got 3 straight buckets. That's a leader, man. That's a leader. That's who he is. That's just who he is. Got his 40 in the end anyway. Thank God JB plays basketball for this basketball team. Absolutely true. Sam Garcia, what is up, Sam? Love this effing team. Yes, Sam Garcia. I love him too. You know how I love them? Because they can hurt me. They can hurt me. They can frustrate me like only the people I love can frustrate me to the degree that this team can frustrate me. That's part of it. That's part of it. That's part of the fun and that's part of the joy of being a fan of any team, but this team specifically. They're an easy team to love because these efforts aren't the norm, right? Like, it's a team that plays really hard almost all the time. They have high standards for themselves. They represent the fan base in a professional manner. They care. They play hard. And to see the first 2 quarters is just like below, it hurts because, like, it's not who they are. It's not who we expect them to be. Absolutely. We love them. We love them. Thanks, Sam. Kevin Danishevsky. What's up, KD? W is a W. Agreed. Thank God we have JB. Agreed. I really like that closing lineup. And I'm the Grimes guy, but I'm militating for a change. DDV works so well. Give me a second.
First of all, shout out AG1.
Shout out AG1. Militating.
I'm very curious what militating means because it threw me off too.
Of a fact or circumstance be a powerful or conclusive factor in preventing. It means to like prevent or to be a factor in preventing. So I'm militating. Kevin, I'm throwing the challenge flag. I'm throwing the challenge flag. You stuck a big word in there, and I don't think it's properly used. So I'm throwing the challenge flag, and until you can show me that is correctly used in this sentence, I'm charging you a timeout. You lose the ball, and you lose your timeout.
15 yards. First down.
At least 15 yards.
There you go. So he's in the chat right now saying he thought it was a synonym for advocating. Hey, Kevin, say advocating. He's advocating for a change.
Oh, he's advocating for a change.
Yeah. Say advocating. That would have worked.
Militating? Good. I'm glad I challenged. I challenged. And we've sorted that out. Holy cow. Militating.
Mm-hmm. By the way, to your
that's a great AG1 word. Anytime we say anytime we hear militating,
anytime militating gets said, we're adding that to the drinking game. Okay, shout out AG1. Speaking of stuff in the water, Benji, Chicago's up 7 in overtime against Milwaukee.
Oh hell yeah! So, I'm telling you, something's going on tonight.
The Knicks avoided it. Now Atlanta eventually beat San Antonio by 2, but that was also a too close
I got nervous
call.
for a second when I first started saying that there were upsets. I was looking there, and they're like, "Oh no, wait, that went the other way. That went the other way. This is going to be embarrassing." Thank God there were a couple at the end there that were actual upsets. And Chicago looks like they're going to beat Milwaukee. Wow, how about it? Yeah. Something going on. But that's the thing. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I am someone who is always saying like it's not going to be easy often, no matter how like teams have good performances. Like NBA teams, when I watched that Detroit first quarter, I was like, that's not an NBA team. Like they're playing like idiots. And we're not, what were we up at the end of the first?
14.
It was 14 at the end of the first, was it actually?
They were up 14 at the end of the first.
I remember. Then it was,
and we all thought the Knicks played like a C- game.
Yeah.
And that's
and
when
and then it was tied at the half.
Yeah, XJ asked us, has a team ever played poorly and lost and won by 30? And I guess we're gonna find out tonight.
But like honestly, 14 wasn't enough because I'm telling you, it was the worst quarter of basketball I've ever watched a team play. They were handing us the ball. It was like, and they were only up 14 because Brunson was like 4 for 4 from 3 or some nonsense. Anyway,
yep,
militating. Jesus, Danishevsky, get out of here with that. Anthony 6-0. What's up, Anthony? Nights like these used to be losses. I'll take the W, noticing more of the Curry back and forth ball movement to free up Brunson. He constantly evolves to stay ahead of his scouting report. Not only did nights like these used to be losses, but we used to be the Pistons. And like that should never be forgotten. As we talk about how much we love this team and appreciate this team and are grateful for this team. This used to be the reaction of any team that New York played tough. For like a good 13 out of 15 years. Maybe more. 15 out of 17 years. 16 out of 18 years. Whatever. All the years other than the 2 good Melo years, whoever played the Knicks, if it was this kind of game and they hung close with them and then they beat them at the end, they were on here complaining about how they almost lost to the Knicks. That's where we used to be. So, yeah, important perspective. And thank you to Tom Thibodeau, and thank you to Julius Randle, and thank you to RJ Barrett. Thank you to Emmanuel Quickly. Thank you to Alec Burks, who was horrendous tonight, but I love him just the same. And honestly, of course he was bad against his favorite team. He loves the Knicks too, because he knows how much I love him. Sorry, to the second part of your statement here. Noticing more of the Curry back and forth ball movement to free up Brunson. I'm not sure exactly what you're referring to by the Curry back and forth ball movement. I will say the Knicks have made some really smart, I think, adjustments, specifically the way they run their high horn set. So for those who don't know, the horn set is just Mitch and Randall. It doesn't have to be Mitch and Randall, but Knicks generally run it with Mitch and Randall. Screen way up the floor, and so it's kind of like a triangle or like horns, right? And where Brunson's on top, and he has a lot of optionality and space because they're setting it so high up, and he can now walk into those threes. And if a big does come up on him, he can blow by, and Mitch is still rolling, so there's just more room to operate. I think that was a really smart adjustment that the Knicks have made this season, taking advantage of Brunson's newfound range and shooting ability, and allowing him more room to operate generally. And if he goes Randall's way and he gets a switch, well, then Randall might be able to post a switch or whatever. There's a lot of different options to get out of a very simple set. If you guys ever see Tom Thibodeau during a free throw or whatever go like this, I'm making a triangle with my fingers, he's calling high horns, something for you guys to look out for. And I think they have those little, they run little get plays, which means that Brunson will throw it to Randall and get it right back. So maybe that's what you're referring to, Anthony. He's definitely moving more off ball this year, to your point. I put out a tweet today demonstrating how he's so often moving off of Randall drives and post-ups, relocating to different spots on the floor. And when Randall inevitably draws that attention, which he's so good at, he kicks it out and finds Brunson, who relocated. The defender turns around, didn't realize that Brunson moved or relocated, and now Brunson's got a clean three, and he doesn't need much room anymore. Like, it's just cash. So definitely we've advanced the playbook a bit. Brunson has himself just grown and allowed the Knicks to open up the playbook a bit. But yeah, he is evolving constantly, to your point. And the shooting evolution has just been incredible to behold. It's stunning. I don't know if I can properly describe how difficult it is for a guy who's as established an NBA basketball player as Jalen Brunson is to grow to this extent in a 2-year period, to go from really someone who didn't shoot pull-up threes to one of the best pull-up three shooters in the league in 2 years, in a year plus. It's not even 2 years, a year plus. Remarkable. Really is remarkable. Thanks, Anthony. Jessica Elsener. What's up, Jessica? No half measures, said Walter White. The whole IQ needs to be on the bench narrative needs to stop. Dirty Dancer. No easy games ever. Jessica. Okay, so I got 2 of the references here. So it's better than your Grateful Dead references, which I never get, which is my fault, to be clear. Walter White from the acclaimed television program Breaking Bad did say no half measures. And it is the case in basketball that there are no half measures. And then no easy games ever, says you. I get that reference. And it's true. Although this game should have been I will state, this game should have been an easy game. It just should have been. It just should have been. Like, there's nuance in there. Like, yes, a win is a win, and it is. Most important thing, win is a win. But you can also look at the performance and say, like, against most teams, that's a loss. Probably a significant loss. And the whole IQ needs to be on the bench narrative needs to stop from Dirty Dancer. Don't know the reference. I know the movie, sort of.
That's Dirty Dancing. Dirty Dancer is a moderator for us here on the YouTube, as well as a patron that interacts a lot in the in the Discord. So shout out to Dirty Dancer.
Why did you,
Benji? I jumped in.
You could have saved me a lot of embarrassment if you just when the chat first went up. Maybe type it in the chat, Andrew. God,
Benji, I didn't know that you didn't know that the name of Dirty Dancing was Dirty Dancing, and it was. You watch the replay later. A second later was when I unmuted. Also, Jessica, you may be right on this, but I'm pretty sure Mike said no half measures, not Walter White. But that may be like a clarification. Who said it first? I know the no half measures.
Otherwise, I'm crushing it. Wait.
Yes.
So what is the whole IQ needs to be on the bench narrative needs to stop? What am I missing there?
I'm assuming that in the live game chat in our Discord, please shout out to our Patreon if you want to join our Discord. Shout out. Yes, Discord. If you want to join us, you just sign up for our Patreon or Mellow tier, and you can live interact with a bunch of Knicks fans throughout a game. I'm assuming Dirty Dancer was like, the whole IQ needs to be on the bench narrative needs to stop. So I don't know if Jessica was just quoting him in that sense.
Who says IQ needs to be on the bench?
No.
And is it a narrative?
I'm being told I'm correct in the chat.
Are we referring to the fact that IQ is a bench player? All right.
Clarify Jessica, in the chat if you'd like.
Yeah, Jessica. You can follow up in the chat. Sorry for butchering your question in like 4 different ways. Dirty Dancing. Dirty Dancing is the movie where the girl jumps into the guy's arms.
Yep, Patrick Swayze.
Sure, Patrick Swayze. Sure.
She's having the
My
time
mom loves
of her
that
life.
movie. I remember as a kid, my mom telling me how great this movie is and watching it. And I was like, I don't know what's happening in this movie. I don't like it. But I was like 8.
My wife and I were gonna reenact
Here and after called Dirty Dancer.
My wife and I were gonna reenact that at our wedding, but she didn't think she was strong enough to lift me. Anyway, next question.
That would have been something to behold. All right, Kevin's back. Militating. Saw a tweet that said first half was worst half under Tibbs. As self-appointed 21-22 Knicks historian, I can think about a 12 that were worse there. Yeah, that is incorrect. No. There was a stretch there in like, what was it, January or February or March, where they blew like 3 straight 20-point leads. The one that's in my mind most clearly was the Nets one, where they were playing the Nets like C squad, and like Cam Johnson led like a 20-point comeback in like the second half, and it was an utter and total collapse of epic proportions. No. There were at Kevin, my militating friend, you are 100% correct that this was not the worst half under Tibbs. Not even close. There were some of the second halves in that 21-22 season that far surpass this first half. And honestly, like some of the halves at the end of that Atlanta series, which were really bad. But nope, Kevin, despite having a tough night so far, this was a good message. You are correct. You are correct to point this out. And that is a horrible job to be the self-appointed 21-22 Knicks historian. That might be the worst job description I have seen in a very long time. What a miserable, miserable place to be. It's like being a professor of atrocities. Like you exclusively taught atrocities. You're not a history professor. It's only atrocities. That's what that is, to be a self-appointed 21-22 Knicks historian. And I hope, Kevin, that you can move past that and find something else to do, to be, to accomplish, to become, to strive for. I don't want that for you. Because that season sucked. It was a militating experience. Thanks, Kevin. Dom Cappuccini, the legend, the man, the myth. What's up, Dom? A win is a win. But should we be concerned about the D trending down or just a blip against a team with a big chip on their shoulder? All I got tonight, I hope they have something left for tomorrow. That's a good question, Dom. Andrew, let me know if we have a net rating update or a defensive rating update. I don't know if it's come yet.
We do. After this give it to you.
Yeah. Has the D slipped? I don't know. I'm not sure I've seen like a major defensive slippage. Tonight was bad, but I don't think I quite agree that the defense is trending down. They did get off to a really great start. I understand maybe it slipped a little bit from like, I don't know if we're top 5 anymore. Andrew will let me know in a second, but like, I thought today was bad. Mitch wasn't nearly at the level. We haven't really talked about the centers tonight. Mitch did his thing on the offensive glass. He made 2 free throws, which was nice to see. I didn't think he was a major defensive presence in this game, which was surprising considering he was guarding Duren, so he didn't have to it wasn't a matter of dealing with a stretch 5 or feeling stretched in. He just wasn't. I didn't think it was quite as impactful at the rim tonight. I thought he was off balance at times at the point of attack. Got blown by a couple times when he was aggressive in coverage. But he's entitled to a bit of an off night. He's been so good. Hartenstein also, I didn't think was at his best. Similarly, was a bit slow in coverage. I thought, he's hedging and he has to recover quickly. I thought he was a little slow to recover at times. Just didn't really have his normal impact tonight, Hartenstein. Either the centers who have been so great were not as good tonight. And that's the anchor of the defense. And we talked about Grimes already, just needing to make people feel him a little more. RJ tonight was a problem defensively. It was really his worst defensive game, I thought, of the year. Off balance, losing guys, offensive rebounds. Yeah, RJ, look, maybe Andrew, you could pull from me RJ's numbers post migraine. But they haven't been great. And we saw the defensive slippage now tonight. So that's a bit of a concern. I'm hoping he bounces back and finds it again. And he's still getting the line, which is nice to see. That seems to be a constant this year, which is really good to see, but a little concerned about his defensive performance. But I don't know. They locked down when they needed to. DiVincenzo was superior against Cade Cunningham late. Really good. So they did what they needed to do by the end. I'm not that concerned about the D trending down, to answer your question. It was a blip. It was a unserious first half performance and third quarter, really. And yeah, Detroit, once they smelled it, they really wanted it. No kidding. It's been a month. So it was going to be, once the game was tied going to the second half, I knew it was going to be a dogfight. Because now Detroit just is going to give everything they got. Thanks, Tom. Excuse me.
So 2 things, Benji.
What's up?
We'll go 3 things actually because there's a Grimes comment coming. First of all, you asked for RJ Barrett since the did not dress 3-game stretch that he had where he had migraine. He is in that stretch, which is not including tonight, so it's going to get worse. Shooting 33% from the field, 30% from 3. Now it's 88% from the line, but we're talking 14 points a game in the last 5 games, and then you add in tonight's stinker.
Yeah, he's only surviving because of the free throws, which is, by the way, really important for a scorer and something that he has gotten better at over the years. Like when you don't have the shot going and you're struggling inside the arc, like, okay, but you're getting to the line 6, 7, 8 times and you're making 6, 7, or 8 of them. That's huge and a credit to him. And I think it keeps his floor so much higher. Like sometimes the RJ Barrett floor was so dreadfully low. Like he could derail a whole offense. Well, now it's not as bad because he's getting to the line. He's making his free throws. But it's a concern. I don't know if there's something going on, if he's fully healthy. I know the 3-point shooting wasn't going to sustain, but some of the other stuff that's a bit concerning. So we got to keep it. We'll monitor. We're monitoring it. We're monitoring it.
Speaking of monitoring it, it's time for an advanced stats update. So
yes, sir.
The Knicks are now 11th in offense. They're still 11th in offense. This is according to NBA.com. I'll give you cleaning the glass afterwards. In defense, they're still 4th. It helps when Detroit had 20 turnovers tonight. So there are a lot of possessions that were empty for Detroit. However, they also scored on the possessions that weren't turnovers a bunch. And then they're still at 6th in net rating.
That's a healthy line.
Yeah. If you want to go to clean the glass, they are 7th in defense as opposed to 4th.
Yeah. They took 7 more shots than the Pistons tonight, which is actually a little below. Usually they're 12 more shot attempts or so.
Well, it's 9. Usually it's the thing DJ's tracking, 91-82. Where every game it's around 91 and around 82 that they give up.
So it was in that ballpark anyway. They had 12 offensive rebounds tonight. Mitch, I think, had 5. Yeah, I mean, Still healthy. I think there's a lot still to be excited about. And now they have a Milwaukee sandwich with Toronto, right? It's Toronto, Milwaukee, Toronto.
Well, it depends what happens in the in-season tournament.
Oh, right.
So it's Toronto on Friday, then
I'm
they
looking
go
at
to Milwaukee,
and then there's one
and
other game.
then the weird schedule of if they win against Milwaukee, then they'll play Thursday against the winner of Indiana, Boston, and if they lose, they come home on Wednesday to play the loser of Indiana, Boston.
Right.
So
Yeah, it's a lot, and no matter what, it's 4 tough games. Because I'm telling you, that Toronto team is gonna cause some matchup issues for the Knicks, because kind of like Phoenix, but more skilled. Their wings are huge, like massive, and the Knicks are small on the wing, and that is going to cause some issues. Like, how do you match up against a starting lineup of Schroeder, Scotty Barnes, Anunoby, Siakam, Pirtle? And so you assume you put Brunson on Schroeder because where else is he going to go? Maybe you try Schroeder. Maybe you try Brunson on Anunoby and hope that Anunoby tries to post up, because I don't know what you do. Because then you got, I think Randall will guard Siakam, which has been an adventure in the past. Siakam lit them up last year one game. You probably have RJ on Barnes. Barnes is a big boy. That's a lot. It's a big matchup. And then you have Grimes, either Schroeder or Anunoby. Maybe you tried Grimes on Barnes. I don't know. The point, you see what I'm getting at, is there's no great answer. Now, they can't shoot either, and they're not a good offensive team. So I'm not suggesting they're going to score 140 points, but they're going to ask questions. And that's 2 games against Toronto in the next 4, and then you have Indiana or Boston and Milwaukee for sure. So you got tough games coming up. So again, essential that you bank this win. I think you're probably hoping for a split against Toronto, just because it's also hard to sweep a team kind of that close together. I would take a split. Can't lose both. I would take a split.
I will say the Toronto split is 10 days apart. So I don't know. You're right. It is tough to beat a team twice.
Why do I think that they're playing twice in the week? I don't know.
Because in the schedule, because the NBA was weird, they put them back to back. They didn't schedule a game for between
that's
the
why. So it
2nd
looked
and the
like
10th. So, Benji, I made the same mistake. I thought that there was just a week off in the season when I was making a schedule for all of our post games. And I was like, oh, I'll make plans. And then John's like, in-season tournament. It's like, oh.
Yeah.
Well, never mind.
We're all adjusting to this new life in the NBA.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, either way, I still think they should split against Toronto. At least win both. That's great.
I agree.
And then Milwaukee and either Boston, Indiana, you probably take 1-1. So had to bank this win, get through this next little stretch, and go from there. What are we, 11-7?
11-7, on pace for 50 wins.
Hey, man.
There you go.
How about that?
Yeah. We'll get back to it in a second. I want to just clarify the Dirty Dancer comment was in reference to John's newsletter this morning about how IQ should remain a bench player because it's working. Don't break it, or don't fix it. It's not broken, basically.
I read John's newsletter generally, and I didn't read it this morning. That's on me. Thank you for clarifying.
Filling in amicably tonight for him on the post game. I think he'll be okay with it. You should have stuck
with admirably. What's with people in their word usage? Amicably?
I have a lot going on in my system at the moment, so I have an excuse. I'm not trying to use a word and using it wrong. I'm trying to use a word. Well, I guess I am trying to use a word.
You are militating amicably right now. All right, next question. Let's go.
Next question.
What do we got?
And shout out AG1.
Shout out AG1. Ian Livernoche. Swap out OG for Grimes. Are you a championship contender? Woo, spicy. I would still take Boston and Milwaukee over us in a series. I think you're still probably a slight tier below those 2 teams, but you're closer to a contender. I'll tell you that. You're closer to it. OG's really good. And OG gives this team something that they are lacking. That kind of defensive presence on the perimeter. So, it's an interesting theoretical question. That would not be the swap that would take place. Realistically, if they did try to get OG, but it's an interesting question to consider. Thanks, Ian. Zach Halilovich. What's up, Zach? You saw Duren get Brunson in the first quarter. I sure did. And I have to put it on the Brunson thread. But I did mention it. I did tweet it out. He did it again. Jalen Duren didn't know what hit him. Brunson does it. And for those who don't know, getting Brunson is something I refer to as when Brunson purposely goes under a screen, knowing that the screener is going to roll, and then he falls down almost once a game. It's actually hilarious and remarkable, and seeing guys' reactions to it when it happens to them is very funny because all they're trying to do is roll to the rim, and all of a sudden this 6-footer who they can't even see because they're all like 7 feet tall it is falling down and the ball's going the other way. It's just a very funny trend that I picked up on, and it happened to Duren today in the first quarter, and he didn't know what hit him. Poor guy. It's great. It's actually a brilliant little trick he's got. Thanks, Zach. Alex, what's up, Alex? Excellent bounce back game from JB. Thought Tibbs' rotations tonight were good. Grimes wasn't competitive out there, and DDB deserved to play over him. It's interesting you call it a bounce back game. Oh, thank you. AG1. Cheers. I didn't think Brunson was bad in the last game against Charlotte. I just thought he kind of deferred to Julius and let him do his thing, and he was 5 for 9 from the field. Like, whatever. Played a good defensive game, a really good defensive game against Charlotte. So I don't know if it's a bounce back game. He's been excellent for quite a while now, since his a little bit of a slow start. He's been an all-star caliber player, shooting the lights out of the ball, defending at a high level this year. He's just been great. What else can you say? I also thought Tibbs' rotations were good. I thought he put, the guys who were serious tonight got to play. Other than Randall, who I would argue wasn't so serious to start the game, but became serious over the course of the game. I wouldn't say Grimes wasn't competitive out there. I just don't think he was making much of an impact. He's playing hard. He's just kind of lost. But DDV certainly deserved to play over him and was really good down the stretch of this game. Shooting the ball, obviously, and defensively on Cade, I thought he changed. Because there's a stretch in the third quarter where the Pistons were scoring on every possession. It was kind of crazy. We couldn't do anything. Cade was getting to any spot on the floor he wanted. Offensive rebounds. Just wasn't good. And DDV's pressure on Cade, I remember when he came into the game, the first possession, he pressured him, wouldn't let him touch it, changed the whole tenor from that point on. So yeah, credit to DiVincenzo, who continues to just be a really positive addition to this team. Like, there have been repercussions in terms of minutes, and like Grimes maybe is suffering a bit from the addition of DiVincenzo, and Josh Hart early, I think, kind of got lost in the shuffle a bit in terms of his role. But DiVincenzo himself, the player, has been a positive addition to this basketball team, as we kind of knew he would be. But he's shown out after a bit of an uneven start. He has shown out and has been the role player they were expecting. Good shooter. Makes plays, causes turnovers, wreaks havoc on the defensive end. He's just a good player. It's nice to have him around. Thanks, Alex. Danny Gardner. What's up, Danny? A W is a W, not going to have it every night, and some nights Killian Hayes will go 10 for 13. Valid point. Takeaway of the game was that story about Mitch and his coach. Yeah. Mitch is a special guy. I think you get that sense. Had a really, you learn about where he came from and his upbringing and what he's had to overcome, and even his journey in the league and like what he's turned himself into. And now you hear a story like this. He's a bit of a clown purposely. I think a lovable one. I think he's just Mitch, man. But he's clearly a kind-hearted person. And that story really touched me. It was a really beautiful story. Killian Hayes, man, look. One thing that annoyed me about the Killian Hayes was Brunson's guarding him, right? And I spoke about Brunson's defense on Sasser, but he wasn't very good on Killian either. And there's a play that I'm thinking of specifically. The ball gets swung to Killian Hayes on the wing. Now, Killian will make an occasional corner three, but like if he wants to shoot a wing three, be my freaking guest. Brunson ran him off the line. Killian takes 2 dribbles in. He'd been knocking down that mid-range jumper all night. He rises right above Brunson and makes it. I'm like, that's undisciplined defense. Know your personnel. Close out short. Make him shoot it over you. Make him shoot the 3 over you. Just, they weren't sharp tonight. And that allows guys like Killian Hayes to get going. But credit to Killian Hayes, who we heard in, if you listen to Andrew's pregame show, Pistons Twitter is obviously, it's like a war zone over Killian Hayes. He's a very controversial player. He's really struggled to shoot the ball, and from the field, he's never been good. He played a really nice game tonight, and he did shoot it well, so credit to Killian Hayes. But, you know, again, like, yeah, you're not going to have it every night, but I expect a representative effort every night. I think that's our right to expect a representative effort every night, and the first half tonight was not a representative effort, in my opinion. Thanks, Danny. Stevens B. Guame. What's up, Stevens? Glad we got the W, though I am not happy about the process. Same here. Should not have been this close at all. No, it was... No, Stevens, you basically summed up what I've been trying to say for an hour plus now in one sentence. That's right. It was a good win. Glad we got it. Not good process. Shouldn't have been that close. Agreed on all counts. Not much to add. No notes. Next up. Who do we got? Rob Faluzma. What's up, Rob? Rob, thanks for all your engagement on Twitter. I see you up there a lot, liking my stuff, responding, talking. I appreciate it. Anybody who engages, I try to answer, try to engage back. I really appreciate all you guys who follow and who just generally engage and enjoy my content. That's why I put it out there. So thanks, Rob, for that as well. Sup, Ben, and our man, Andrew. I'm ready for a serious discussion about Grimes. Cheers. Much love to the KFS crew, even though I'm annoyed AF. Yeah. We've had a serious discussion already about Grimes tonight, as I knew we would. I still think he deserves more time. I think it's in the organization's best interest, and probably even in this team's best interest this year, to give him more time. He's going to be an important piece. It could be that we get to a place at some point where if this goes on for a couple more weeks, and you don't want to lose a guy, and you don't want him to lose his confidence, at some point it might be worth the flip to see if he can find some rhythm with the second unit. Maybe that's what he needs, is a bit more free-flowing offense, a bit more pace, and maybe that gets him out of it. I'm not rejecting that out of hand. I'm not ready to go there yet, but that is the solution. Like, I'm not going to bench the guy. If I flip DiVincenzo and Grimes, I let Grimes try to find a rhythm with a different set of personnel. That's an interesting solution for me. Not there yet, but we're getting close. Thanks, Rob. Kevin D. What's up, Kevin? Can we get Hart? Seeing too much hate of late.
Hart love.
So write love, Kevin. What am I, deciphering your codes? Militating, boy? Come on, man. Get it together. I'm trying here. I'm trying to help you out. Yeah, Josh was pretty good tonight. Second half more than first half. So we're trending in the right direction. Yeah. We, Josh Hart, I said it after the last game. He can be impactful. I don't care what his role is. You just got to accept the role and give it everything he's got. And shoot the ball when he has a shot, which he did tonight for the most part. So good on him. Thanks, Kevin. Drazov, what's up? Thank you for the contribution, sir. Learn 3 things tonight. 1, JB is invaluable. You shouldn't have learned that tonight. That's been clear as day for a while now. B, Sasser might have a little something. Yeah, he's got something. I thought the Knicks did a very poor job defending him, which allowed him to get some confidence going. But yeah, he's got some game. 3, cornrows Knox might actually be worse than his draft jacket. Yeah. I root for Kevin Knox. I do. I just don't know. It's always a bit of he looks like a deer hopping around out there. Like it's like unbalanced and unsteady and not strong enough and like Bambi. Like even his and one he got tonight was like all over the place. It was like chaos. It happened to go in and Brunson happened to try to take a charge, but like I don't know if it's ever going to happen for Kevin Knox. I'm rooting for him. Don't know if it's ever going to happen. Jessica's back. What's up, Jessica? Won't you try just a little harder? Couldn't you try just a little more? The Wheel by Jerry Garcia and Robert Hunter, and is also advice I implore to the Knicks. No easy games. Push 100% always. Yeah, tonight I wish they would have tried a little bit harder and tried a little bit more. And again, it started on the first play of the game, where you kind of got a sense that this was going to be too difficult. But it does happen, and we have reason to. I'm grateful the Knicks have given us reason to be disappointed when they don't put forth a representative effort, because for the most part, 95% of the time they do. They're a team that plays hard. They're a team that plays with effort. They're a team that plays physically. They're a team that generally gets the 50-50 balls. Tonight, I don't think they got any. It just felt like the Pistons were faster to the ball, wanted it more, which makes sense because they're a desperate team. But we usually play that way. Thanks, Jessica. Darth Dream, what's up? We really had to watch Sturdy just escort a loose ball out of bounds with no intention of grabbing it. That was funny, man. Just goofy. Allergic to extra effort. Nah, that one wasn't effort. It was kind of a stupid play because just like grab the ball. I think he legitimately thought it wasn't off us. What was funny is the camera immediately panned to Tibbs, who's making his like super intense face, and you see him go, Jesus Christ. Just saw the mouth move. That always gives me a laugh. I love when they flash the Tibbs after something stupid happens and you see his reaction. It wasn't great. That didn't annoy me as much as the first play of the game when he just was like, nah, who needs to contest a layup? They're the Pistons. Thanks, Darth. Jeff Smith. What's up, Jeff? Tibbs saw it. Nova Trust, college-like, div in love. It's like a haiku. Yeah. He's going to trust that lineup and those guys because it's like in his blood. But like, I'm nervous about it becoming a crutch. And so I implore you, Quentin Grimes, Emmanuel Quickly, and RJ Barrett to play really well so that he closes with you guys. You're going to have to earn it, though. It is a competitive landscape out there. It is brutal because there are a lot of guys that can close games on this team. That's the strength of the team. The strength of the team is you have 9 guys who could start on certain teams. 9. All 9 guys are starter-capable players. So, yeah, it's going to be competitive, and it's a nice thing to have the luxury of putting those Nova guys out there to do what they did tonight. I don't want Tibbs to rely on it too much because those guys are also flawed in certain ways, and Hart and DiVincenzo. Thanks, Jeff. Cuber then. What's up, Cuber then? We are at the point where Tibbs changes lineups, 20-ish games. What's the move? No way he doesn't go DDV for Grimes, right? I prefer IQ, but Tibbs doesn't. Drink. Thanks, AG1. I don't think he's going to make that change until they lose a few games. And Grimes doesn't play well in those losses. Like Tibbs is stubborn. We know from experience it takes him a while to react, and it takes desperate times. Like the Kemba Fournier change came at a desperate time. The Derrick Rose change came at a desperate time when like reports were that they were looking to fire the guy. And we're past that now. We're a very different place. And I just, as long as the team is generally succeeding, and as Andrew just said, they're on pace for 50 wins at the moment, which is crazy. 11-7, succeeding despite Grimes' struggles. I don't think they make the change unless there's a losing streak or, a 4 out of 5, 5 out of 6 type of thing. And Grimes is struggling throughout. Then that change may be made. And that would be the change. But I don't think it's going to happen yet. Thanks, Huber, then. Chris Carter. There's something about JR's mishaps that really get under my skin. I need to talk to my therapist about it. Oh my God, yes. But we're in therapy here together. Yeah, Julius's mistakes and his lapses in effort and concentration are more noticeable and apparent than anybody else's. Certainly on this team, maybe in the league. There's a indifference about it. There's a body language about it that just drives you nuts. And there's also a part of it where it's like, I know what he's capable of. I know what he can do. I've seen him be a physical beast. He can be physical. He can chase down block. We've seen him do it. He can switch with aggression and confidence, but half the time he just kind of sits back in a drop and waits to see what happens. Like it's both the body language that stands out, and then it's the other side of it's the potential that drives you crazy. It's like this guy could be a force on two-way if he just put in consistent effort. But he doesn't, and it's a big flaw in his game. It's a big flaw in his game, and yet, as so often happens, when the game ends and you realize what kind of production he puts up, and it's like they can't live without him. They can't. They cannot. This team cannot live without Julius Randle. They need his creation. They need his shot making, even when he's not shooting well. It's important. It's important. So, as frustrating as it is, as long as he's here, they need him. And in the fourth quarter tonight, he was great. He was great. Thanks, Chris. Russ Guberman. How are you doing, Russ? Hey, Ben. Perambulating around pontificating about Orange Julius and whether his long-range trepidation could be postulated as Samson syndrome. Lockless. I imagine that this is a reaction to Mr. Militating and Kevin Danishevsky out there. I don't know what you mean by this. I know what some of those words mean. I know what they mean better than I know what militating means. I have faith that you actually know what they mean when you write them down. But I don't know what you're talking about, and I do appreciate the jest, though, and I enjoy a good jest, so thank you, Russ. Dom Cappuccini. What's up, Dom? So unreal that New York improved to 4th on D after that. I don't know if they improved. I think that's where they were before. They stood pat. Well, again, the Pistons turned it over 20 times. Isaiah Stewart threw up like 4 air balls. And they're playing like 3 NBA players. I mean, a couple of those guys will become NBA players. Like, I think Osar Thompson right now is not necessarily making a positive impact, but I think he will. There's something there. And he's just a rookie. Cade's really good. You see what Cade can do. I don't think Livers is really like a high-end NBA player. Isaiah Stewart I never liked. Duran's a player. Duran's a starting center in the league. He made one reverse layup tonight that I was like, whoa. Like around Mitch, and somehow he's talented. Jalen Duran is really talented. He's an NBA player. Cade's an NBA player. Ivy's an NBA player. I'm not sure what he is yet, and there's obviously some tension there with the coach and his playing time. Not sure what that's about, or I know they're trying to get him to play defense, but like they need him to create offense too. So he's quick. He's really quick, obviously. He's an NBA player. That's about it. I'm not sure Killian Hayes, like long term, is really an NBA rotation guy. Alec Burks. I hate to say this, but maybe on his way out of NBA rotation guy. Hopefully he gets one more shot with a team that he can actually help. Like, I hope they move him to somewhere more fitting for a player like him. And Bogdanovich obviously is hurt when he's a really good NBA player, but he's not on the team right now. But yeah, that's how you, despite a bad defensive performance, the stats don't say it was that bad because Detroit's not good. Thanks, Tom. Sean with a W. What's up, my friend Sean? Last year, we took care of bad teams easily. Too often this year, we've tried to win by just showing up. Washington, Charlotte, Detroit, playing with fire. Phoenix burned. You hate to see it. I'll push back a little bit. Like, the Charlotte games, I think the Knicks have been really in control. Even if at times Charlotte cut it to whatever, like the Knicks I think they won wire to wire in both. It's like you can't ask for much more than that. Washington, I know, was a bad third quarter. I even felt that game was different. This game was just different to me. I actually give credit to the Knicks for generally taking care of business this year against bad teams. And at the end of the day, you just have to beat those teams, and they have. They've yet to lose one. I don't think Phoenix just Booker plus role players is not a bad team. They're just not. Knicks didn't play well in that game, and the effort wasn't really there in the first half. But there, I give credit because Phoenix, those guys specifically, those wings are some of the highest percentage offensive rebounders that aren't centers in the league. And the Knicks just didn't do a good enough job keeping them off the glass. This was different. This game was just different to me. Detroit was a joke in the first quarter. Thank you, Sean. Abdoulaye Diallo. What is up? Thank you for the contribution. Are we actually the most underrated team in the East? We still have room for growth. We all know the Pacers are going to fall off in the playoffs. I don't know how we're rated. I think people, I don't know. I think people probably have the people that I trust and value their opinions are kind of where I am on the Knicks. They're a really good team. They could probably win up to 50 games, thereabouts. They're tough. They know who they are. Brunson's amazing. Julius is infuriating, but good. Center play is really good. The bench is really good. I think it's properly rated. The Knicks are probably properly rated. I don't know who's an underrated team in the East. Maybe do people realize Orlando's good yet? Maybe they're the underrated team. I think Milwaukee's probably underrated because they haven't played well yet, because I still think they're going to be awesome. The Pacers, we'll see. I don't think they play enough defense. Halliburton had another ridiculous line tonight. Guy is just doing absurd things on a night-to-night basis. Let me see his numbers here. Tonight, Halliburton, 44 and 10 assists, 15 for 28 from the field, 6 for 16 from 3. They gave up 142 points to the Miami Heat. And by the way, Miami Heat are not an explosive offensive team. So, I mean, they don't guard anybody. So I can't take them seriously as like a really good team, to your point, until they defend anybody. 142 points to the Heat. My God, it's like an all-star game score.
Do me a favor and say that louder to our friends that admire the Indiana Pacers in the back.
I admire them for
I admire their offense too. They're fun, but I'm not worried about them.
142 points to the Heat. Oh, Obi had 25 tonight.
Obi had a good night. There was a stretch
15 from the field, 3 for 7 from 3.
There's a stretch in the third quarter where he was just like they were blitzing. Caitlin Cooper was tweeting about it. They were blitzing Halliburton, because he was going off, and it was just like leading to Obi dunks. So
I love that. Love to see Obi succeeding. That's cool. Yeah, look, I mean, they're the greatest show on turf, as it were. Like they're just up and down, but they got to get some stops at some point. Edward Blood, what's up, Edward? JB, our best point guard in 20 years? Yes. Yeah, like by a lot. He even beats Chris Duhon. Also, winter meetings coming up, and Andrew hasn't mentioned baseball yet. I'm proud. Oh, that's why Andrew was sticking around here.
You're welcome, Edward, and you're welcome to everybody else that I haven't mentioned baseball yet. And partially, it's because my baseball team is unserious at the moment.
What do you mean? Luis Severino is the savior.
Severino, Joey Wendell, come on down. We're back to the coupon days, baby. Listen, I'm not having a serious take about baseball. It is basketball season. It is hockey season. Benji and I root for the best team in the NHL. So,
Bro,
as far, bro,
it was a great win last night.
they're so
Phenomenal win.
good. They're so freaking good. Okay, this is not Rangers Film School. So, anyway,
Thank you, Edward. Yeah, he is by miles and miles and miles the best point guard we've had in 20 years. Thank you, sir. Busy is back. Shout out to AG1. The packaging was great. Did Busy get some AG1?
Busy got himself some AG1. He texted me today or messaged me today. So,
but when he says
Busy,
I'm glad the packaging. I hope the drink was great.
So you start it in the morning. So he said he's going to start the cycle tomorrow. You take it every day.
So he's shouting him out before he even tried it, just to the packaging.
Yeah. Just the packaging was great.
It's a classic case of judging a book by its cover.
You need to update us, Busy, as
Busy.
You go.
Let us know how it goes, man. We're waiting with. Actually, we know it's going to be great. We know it's going to be great because AG1 is a great product.
Yes, it is.
We hope it's kosher. Thanks, Busy. Fred Katz
had no idea how to send an actual text in the chat, but he sent a donation. So thank you,
Fred. Oh, you didn't have anything to say?
Oh, he did, and it's this chat right here that Jessica sent for him.
Oh, I'm not reading this.
Why? Because it's our competition.
All right, you know what? I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna read it because Jessica paid for it.
Speak freely, Benji. Go ahead.
Here's what I'm gonna say. Fred. If I'm gonna read it, I'm getting a spot. I expect an invite. Sooner than later. And now I'll read your chat. Remember to sign up for Cats and Shoot on Patreon, a podcast by friend of the pod, Fred Katz. It's great. Probably. Now Fred owes me $5. Fred continues. I will have Benji on the pod within the next month. Thanks, Fred. Really appreciate the contribution. Look forward to hanging out on the pod soon enough.
There we go. Well done.
Is that it?
That's
Robert's back.
2 more.
What's up, Robert? I wish Kevin would go back to bad super chats that at least made sense.
Kevin, what Russ Guberman did earlier, that's how it's done. You want to use big words in your super chat, that's how it's done.
That is a classic militating. That's gonna go down. And thank you, Robert, for putting Kevin in his place. Although I think I already have done that. Kevin, we love you.
We love
Anthony.
You, yeah, we're joking. Yeah.
Drano, what's up, Anthony? We know what DDV looks like with the starters. What do you think he'd look like with the bench units? Like, what strengths could it bring out? Well, Anthony, DV does play with bench unit. That's generally who he plays with. And has looked good. I will say, to your point, he's looked better with the starters than he does with the bench. When he plays with the starters, like, I don't know if it's playing with his buddy Brunson or whatever, like Brunson looks for him, Randall looks for him. He's looked at his best. I think his two best kind of sequences or stretch of performance was obviously the game where he started and made like 7 threes. And then this I thought he was great in the fourth quarter tonight. Just looked really in a flow defensively on both ends. So, but he does bring a lot to the second unit too, which again, as Tibbs has pointed out, the bench has been great. The net rating is great. They've run people out of the gym recently. So he's contributing no matter where he plays. But it's a good point that you make that he has looked great with the starters. What does he bring? He brings shooting. He brings defensive playmaking. He causes a lot of turnovers. He's a good mover off the ball, good cutter. He helps any lineup. He greases the wheels for you. He's just a good player, and we're happy to have him no matter what lineup he's playing with. Thank you, Anthony.
And then 2 more just came in.
All right.
Fred Katz. He sent a super sticker. What looks like an object that is personified. It says "Hey you" and it's dancing, but it doesn't show up on StreamYard. And then Fred Katz again.
Fred, go to sleep.
Oof, now you're working late. Or write your article about the Knicks.
Yeah, do something productive. Thanks, Fred. I think it's a pleasure always. Benji, don't pretend like I haven't already invited you on the pod. I must have missed it.
You have to resend that invite, Fred.
Oh man, we're
Can wrap up.
we're wrapping up. I'm tired.
Shout out AG1.
Shout out AG1. Shout out Cade Cunningham. Shout out to the adults in the room for closing the game. Shout out to my blood pressure. Shout out to my cholesterol. Shout out to all of you for making this a more enjoyable night after a hell of a ride. Thank you for tuning in. Please like this video and subscribe to our channel. If you are listening on the KFS podcast feed later, please leave a 5-star rating and review. A militating review. 5 stars, a militating review. We will appreciate it. As always, all of your feedback, all of your reviews, all of your ratings really do make a difference. We always do appreciate when you can do that for us. We love giving you guys all the content that we can, the good content that we provide. Anyways, it's been a pleasure. Always get the doozies, Andrew. Always get the doozies.
Yes. Then thankfully this doozy was a W.
So. Thank God for that. Thanks for hanging out with me here, buddy.
Of course.
Feel good.
Two quick announcements. Coming your way very soon here on the Knicks Film School channel and on the Knicks Film School podcast feed, a pregame pod previewing the Raptors game that's happening on Friday night with S. Barahini of the SDPN podcast network up north. Benji, I know you interact with him a ton on the good old Bird app, or what used to be a Bird app. So
yeah, S is awesome. S is awesome. He's got real access to Toronto. First of all, I think he's like in the locker room or whatever, or gets press access. But also smart basketball person, great guy. Love interacting with him, and just like, I don't know. I'm sure if you're hanging out here at whatever time it is, you're a pretty loyal follower and listener of KFS. Andrew's pregame pods are an invaluable resource. I mean this sincerely. I watch a lot of ball. I try to keep up with the whole league. I know Andrew does as well. But as you know from the Knicks perspective, like, you just know your team. You just know your team that you watch every minute of better than anybody else does. And to get people on that are not just knowledgeable, but are great hangs, like Bryce, who was on tonight, it seems like the most pleasant guy in the entire universe, despite a 16-game losing streak. Like, what a pleasant individual who knows the game, was happy to talk both Pistons and Knicks. And it just, you watch a game after listening to that, and you have a great sense of what to expect, of what to look out for, of the dynamics of the team that you're playing against. Invaluable resource. You're doing an amazing job with that stuff, Andrew.
Well, thank you, Benji. And yeah, shout out to Bryce. That was, I never knew how to approach, like, hey, so your team hasn't won since Halloween. Like, well, how do I have that conversation? And he was very engaging. So shout out to Bryce of Motor City Hoops. As well as to S. Barahini, who you'll hear in a matter of hours. And then for tomorrow night's post game, tune in where DJ Zulo and XJ will be doing the post game show right here on the KFS post game on the KFS YouTube channel. Man.
That's a team. Love that.
That's a good dynamic.
By the way, talk about two guys come at it from a different place, but both bring invaluable knowledge in terms of the data side, in terms of the real film detail. You guys know what you guys know what both of them do. Mm-hmm. They're so good. They're so good. And it's cool to have, I think it's great to have like kind of those, they just come at it from different angles. And I think that's a great way to break down the games. That should be fun. Looking forward to that one.
And what better way to end the night than with one last super chat that just crept in from Robert Cross. This is addressed to me, so I'm going to read it if you don't mind.
Please do.
The legend of GMAC. Can we get an emergency live stream on the Vegas Strip when we compete for the mini chip? Hashtag 53 wins. No, Robert. All right, Benji, you could wrap up.
When you wake up in the morning, approach the day better than the Knicks approached the start of this game. Get your coffee in, get on the train, get on the bus, walk to work, have your AG1, whatever you need. And attack it. Attack the day. Don't do what the Knicks did tonight, but have the same result. A W. Talk to y'all later. Have a good night.